All right, welcome in. It's the January 24th Breer Report. We have a lot to get to today. We are going to get to the AFC Championship game between the Bills and the Chiefs, the NFC Championship game between the Commanders and the Eagles. Obviously, we will know by the end of the weekend who will be competing in Super Bowl 59, but that's not where we're starting today. We're going to start today with a strange, different situation out of Florida. And I say Florida because two teams in Florida are affected by it. By the end of the day on Friday, I would expect that Liam Coen will have been announced as the head coach of the Jacksonville Jaguars. On Thursday night, he accepted the job. I think if anybody had told you that was going to happen earlier in the week, they wouldn't have been surprised. He was clearly a front runner for the job coming out of the weekend. So what's weird about this isn't that he took the job. What's weird about it is how he got there. And to really understand how he got there, you have to go back to the beginning of all of this. You know, they come out of the year, the Bucs do. They win their division. They're eliminated second week of January from the playoffs. And so now, you know, Liam Coen is free to go meet with other teams about their jobs. On January 15th, 2 Wednesdays ago, he has his first interview with the Jacksonville Jaguars. Ahead of that interview, the Buccaneers had asked Liam, what will it take to keep you here? What will it take to take you off the coaching market? Liam gives him a number that would make him the highest paid coordinator in NFL history. The general manager, Jason Light, takes that number to ownership, comes back, says, we don't want to negotiate, but we want to keep you, so we'll meet your number. If you're willing to do it, we'll meet your number on a 3-year deal. Then Coen goes and meets with ownership. After he and ownership meet, they come to an agreement that Coen and ownership encouraged him to do it. That Coen should take the first interview with the Jaguars to at least have the experience of having gone through it. He takes the interview with the Jaguars, goes through that. Jaguars really like him. A few days pass. You get to the weekend. And over the weekend, the Jaguars invite him back for a second interview. He's one of 3 guys to come back for a second interview. Those interviews are set up for Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Coen on Wednesday in Jacksonville. Raiders defensive coordinator Patrick Graham in on Thursday, and then ex-Jets coach Robert Saleh in on Friday. So the Buccaneers would like to wrap their contract extension with Liam Coen up. Again, 3-year deal, make him the highest paid coordinator in NFL history. And they say they'd like to have it done on Monday. Coen asked for another day. That gets pushed to Tuesday. And then Tuesday gets pushed to Wednesday. Wednesday morning, Coen verbally accepts the deal. And then later in the day, the Jaguars fire their general manager, Trent Baalke, which adds a whole layer to all of this because a lot of coaches don't want to work with Baalke. It made the job less attractive. It made it tough for the Jaguars to pursue guys like Aaron Glenn, Ben Johnson, Mike Vrabel, guys that had options. So that materially changes the situation there. End of the day on Wednesday, the Coen talks with the Bucs and says, well, hey, do you want me to come in to do the contract now, or do you want me to come in tomorrow morning? Jason Light tells Coen, it's fine if you come in tomorrow morning. So they're set to do the deal on Thursday morning. Thursday morning, a few hours passed. The Buccaneers have not heard from Liam Coen. Just complete radio silence. At about 11 a.m., they do hear from his agent. His agent says that Liam's dealing with a personal matter. And so the Bucs say that's fine. A few more hours pass. They still haven't heard from Coen, so they start calling him again. They don't hear from him. And then at about 5 o'clock, or in the 5 o'clock hour, Coen calls Todd Bowles, the Bucs head coach, and says he has to look into the Jacksonville opportunity and that he's going to get on a plane. Within an hour, the Buccaneers hear from someone in Jacksonville that Coen is already in the building, which causes some dispute over whether or not he was being fully truthful with them. And from there, the Buccaneers start digging through it and realize they're being left at the altar. At this point, Coen is in Jacksonville. Later in the night, he calls to tell them that he is accepting the Jaguars job. Now, why would the silence be so important? Well, number one, Coen's acceptance of the 3-year deal was contingent in Tampa on him not taking the second interview in Jacksonville. So once he got on the plane to go to Jacksonville, that offer was coming off the table. So may not want to jeopardize that. And then number two, the Jaguars had instructed Cohen's camp to stay quiet on that. Well, why would they do that? There were still logistical hoops that the Jaguars had to jump through. And one of them was the Rooney Rule. Now, they'd already done one in-person interview with a diverse candidate. That was Robert Saleh, because his first interview was the only one in the first round that was in person. He's able to do it in person because he's not employed by a team right now. But they still needed one more interview to comply with the Rooney Rule. So Patrick Graham, being there on Thursday, got them in compliance with the Rooney Rule, which would explain why perhaps they wanted to keep Cohen's presence in Jacksonville quiet, his plans to go to Jacksonville quiet, because they wanted Graham to go through with the second interview. Now they're in compliance with the Rooney Rule. They have an agreement with Liam Coen. And I expect the deal to be done on Friday. You can be the judge on what you think of the way all of that went down. I can just tell you, obviously, a very unique opportunity in front of Liam Coen here. The opportunity to pick his own general manager was a big part of this. I can only think of one, and I know Cohen was, in counseling with some other people, was told this. I can only think of one first-time head coach in recent memory, at least, who was able to pick his own general manager, and that was Kyle Shanahan in San Francisco in 2017. And then on the flip side of this, the Buccaneers feel like they were jilted for obvious reasons. For them to not hear from Cohen at all after the offer they made, obviously, they aren't feeling great about that. And even if things had fallen through in Jacksonville, I'm not sure that Cohen would have been welcome back in Tampa based on everything that went down. So that's basically the long and short of it. Cohen is the next head coach of the Jacksonville Jaguars, and now the Buccaneers are, for the third time in as many years, looking for a new offensive coordinator. It's the second consecutive time they've had a first-year offensive coordinator leave to go pursue a head coaching opportunity somewhere else. Dave Canales going to the Panthers last year. Now Liam Coen going to the Jaguars. All right, jumping into the conference championship games. We'll start with the AFC. Chiefs-Bills. Cannot wait for this one. This should be fantastic. It'll be the fourth time that Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes have met in the postseason. Believe it or not, that is only one short of the amount of times that Tom Brady and Peyton Manning played in the postseason, which is the all-time record of 5. So these guys have a lot of familiarity with each other. Josh Allen is actually 4-1 against Patrick Mahomes in the regular season, but 0-3 against him in the postseason. Of course, we had last year's game in Orchard Park, and then a pair of games at Arrowhead, the 2021 divisional round shootout, and then the 2020 AFC Championship game. For the Bills, getting over the hump here is a big deal. And I would take you back to a conversation I had with Sean McDermott in the training room at Highmark Stadium about a half hour after the game last week. Their win over the Ravens ended. And I was asking him about what was different about this year's team. And he said, really the difference is the calm over the team, and that they feel like all the work they've put in will pay off. And it really kind of buoys their faith that things will work out when they aren't going right. And I think you can see that against the Ravens. Certainly could see it the week before against the Broncos when they got off to about as bad a start as possible and just put their foot on the Broncos' throats from there and completely choked them out and blew them out. So they feel like the mentality of the team is a little bit different this year, and there's a little less antsiness, a little less nervous energy going through the team going into Arrowhead Stadium. Now, as for the Chiefs, I think what's really interesting about where the Chiefs are is that we still have not seen the best version of that team. I think you're seeing glimpses of it. I think you're seeing glimpses of what the vision was for the team over the summer, where you've got Hollywood Brown and Xavier Worthy running downfield and opening up space underneath. I think you're seeing a version of the smart Steve Spagnuolo defense that we all thought it would be, with all of these young veteran players now, your Nick Boltons, your Trent McDuffies, your George Karlaftis coming of age. And now Chris Jones has got his sea legs back underneath him after they were able to get him some rest. So to me, this is Buffalo going in with a little bit of a different mentality, and a Chiefs team still having maybe its best football in front of it, It's going to be a fantastic game. I can't wait to get there. I'm flying out there tomorrow. I picked the Bills to win the game. I don't feel real confident about it. So that, of course, is the marquee matchup of the weekend. And then you have Eagles Commanders as the early game in the NFC title game. And this one's interesting because Jalen Hurts hasn't played particularly well the last couple of weeks. And in the divisional round against the Packers, I think, the Green Bay defensive coordinator, Jeff Hafley, really drew a blueprint for how to beat that team in pinning Jalen Hurts in the pocket and making him win from there. Jalen Hurts had just 39 yards passing with 5 minutes left in the third quarter of that Packers game. Saquon Barkley absolutely took over in the NFC divisional playoff. So what's going to be interesting about this one to me is seeing whether or not Washington can take command of that game early on. If they can put the Eagles into a deficit early on, which is not easy to do because that defense under Vic Fangio has played really well. But if they can get up 10-0 early on, 14-0 early on, if they can quicken the pace of the game and they can minimize what Saquon Barkley can do to them, then I think they have a chance. They are not the more talented team. The Eagles right now, and this is Adam Peters' first year building the team. It's Dan Quinn's first year coaching the team. It takes time to build the sort of talent base the Eagles have. But I actually think going into this one, if you want to look at the two quarterbacks, I might give the edge to Washington based on the two of them are playing. And so to me, this is either the Eagles winning by double digits or it's the Commanders winning a close game. If the Commanders can find a way to get it into the last 5 minutes where this becomes a quarterback's game, I actually think Jaden Daniels might have the edge over Jalen Hurts. So I can't wait for that one. Can't wait for Bills for Bills Chiefs. And we will be recapping all of it early next week. I will be at the Senior Bowl in Alabama. We'll be, of course, covering all the coaching carousel stuff, things speeding up this week. We now have 4 of the 7 jobs filled with Mike Vrabel in New England, Aaron Glenn in New York, Ben Johnson in Chicago, and Liam Coen, of course, in Jacksonville. 3 more openings left to be filled by the time we talk to you next. Maybe all 3 of them will be filled. We'll see. So we will see you guys next week live from Alabama.